Marcus Hale had always believed that diplomacy was mostly about careful words, polite smiles, and long meetings that felt far too slow for the dangers of the galaxy. But as he followed the ceremonial escort through the shining corridors of the Zirathi Palace, he realized there was much more to it. Every step inside the alien structure felt like walking into a different world, one that was ancient, beautiful, and a little frightening. The palace was carved inside the ribcage of a gigantic fossilized creature. Its bones stretched high overhead like the curved ceiling of a cathedral, and every surface shimmered with threads of blue light. Those threads moved, pulsed, and breathed as if alive. Marcus had never seen anything like it. He tried his best to look confident. After all, he represented Earth. Humanity had only recently joined the interstellar stage, and mistakes could destroy the fragile ceasefire with the Zirathi Empire. His mission was simple: attend the ceremonial welcome, offer peace, and avoid trouble. "Stay close," said his escort, a tall Zirathi guard covered in silver armor plates. "This hallway is old, unstable at times." Marcus nodded. He didn't understand why the Zirathi kept their palace inside a fossil, but he wasn't here to question their traditions. He was here to stop a war. The hall was long and curved. Strange crystals grew from the walls like glowing plants. Some flickered with images of history, battles, star systems, faces of rulers with bright metallic eyes. Marcus slowed for just a moment to stare. "Human," the guard said sharply. "Do not stop. The Queen waits." Marcus forced himself to move again. The last thing he needed was to offend the Zirathi ruler on his first visit. Queen Sarilith was known across the galaxy for her calm logic, but also for her absolute authority. One insult, even by accident, could ruin everything. He adjusted his diplomat badge and kept walking. Suddenly, the palace trembled. At first, it was a small shake, like the rumble of a distant engine, but within seconds the ground jolted hard. Crystals cracked, dust fell from the fossil ceiling. The guards shouted in their own language. "What's happening?" Marcus yelled. "A structural shift," the guard answered. "The lower chambers must have moved. Stay behind." Before he could finish, a larger shockwave ripped through the hallway. The floor tilted. Marcus stumbled forward and crashed into a side passage. The escort reached for him, but another tremor separated them. "Human! Stop!" the guard shouted, but it was too late. The corridor wall split, and a slab of bone crashed down between Marcus and the guards. The impact forced a cloud of dust into the air. Marcus coughed, eyes watering, and tried to stand. "Marcus Hale!" the guard shouted from the other side. "Do not move! We will—" His voice was cut off by the sound of another collapsing support beam. Marcus wiped his eyes. "Great. That's perfect. First diplomatic mission, and I'm already lost in a giant alien skeleton." He took a slow breath. Panicking would not help. He examined the narrow passage he had fallen into. Soft lights glowed along the walls, leading deeper into the palace. The main hallway behind him was blocked. He had no choice but to follow the new path. "Find the exit," he told himself. "Find the guards. Try not to die. Simple." He walked quickly but carefully. The corridor twisted several times, then sloped downward. The lights grew brighter, more gold than blue now. The air felt warmer, too, and the walls changed texture, from smooth fossil to something softer and slightly organic. "That's different," Marcus muttered. Ahead of him, a large circular door slowly unsealed. A soft hum echoed from inside. The door opened like a blooming flower, petals folding outward. "Is this an exit?" Marcus wondered. It didn't look like one. The chamber beyond the door was enormous and strangely peaceful. The walls glowed with gentle colors that shifted like waves. Floating crystals drifted in the air, spinning slowly. Each crystal showed moving pictures, scenes of alien landscapes, old rulers, ancient battles. They looked like memories given shape. But the most impressive thing in the room was the structure in the center. A circular cradle of silver branches, holding a floating sphere that pulsed with deep blue light. Marcus stepped inside before he could stop himself. It was the most astonishing room he had ever seen. He realized, with a slow, rising dread, that this was not a public hallway. This was not a side chamber. This room felt important, sacred. He had just walked into someone's private space. His heartbeat quickened. Please don't be what I think it is. He looked around again. There was no bed, no decorations one would expect in a personal bedroom. Instead, the room felt like a mixture of study hall, meditation chamber, and historical archive. The walls showed living murals, moving stories of the Zirathi past. The air shimmered with faint, peaceful energy. Still, the atmosphere was unmistakable. This was a room meant for only one person, and that person was the Queen. Marcus swallowed hard. He had accidentally entered the Queen's private chamber, the most forbidden room in the palace. "Okay," he whispered. "This is bad, very bad." He backed up toward the door. It sealed shut with a soft hiss. "No, no, 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 open!" he said, tapping the surface. It didn't move. "Not good, not good at all." He turned back to the room. His eyes landed again on the floating sphere. He expected it to be some kind of treasure or royal ornament. But as he walked closer, he noticed the markings on it, patterns of lines, curves, and geometric shapes. They weren't Zirathi symbols. They looked human. Marcus froze. He stared at the sphere. Unable to understand what he was seeing, the cradle holding it hummed softly, recognizing his presence. The blue light inside the sphere brightened, as if waking up. "That's impossible," he whispered. "Humans didn't reach this part of the galaxy until recently." But the design on the sphere looked old, very old, maybe thousands of years. He reached out a hand, not touching the sphere, just trying to see it better. The sphere responded. It projected a faint image into the air, a star map. Marcus jumped back. "Okay, definitely not touching that again." He didn't know which was worse, being trapped in the Queen's private room or discovering something that absolutely should not exist. He paced in a small circle, trying to think. He needed to stay calm. The guards were probably already searching for him. They would open the door soon. All he had to do was wait and not touch anything. He forced himself to sit on a low, smooth platform. He folded his hands and breathed slowly, but the room didn't let him relax. The floating murals shifted and changed. The crystals showed new scenes, massive starships crossing unknown sectors, planets rising and falling, and figures with glowing eyes leading civilizations. The images moved like dreams, each telling a story older than human memory. Marcus watched in silent awe. "What is this place?" he asked the room, knowing it wouldn't answer. A sudden soft chime echoed through the chamber. Marcus stood instantly. "That wasn't me. I swear that wasn't me." The patterns on the sphere brightened again. The star map shifted, zooming in on a single point, the Terran system. More lines formed around it, connecting to distant star clusters Marcus had never seen. The sphere was marking human-related locations across the galaxy. "But humans couldn't have been here," he whispered. Before he could think further, the door behind him opened with a quiet, regal hum. Marcus spun around, standing in the doorway, tall and graceful, her eyes glowing with silver authority, was Queen Sarilith. She looked at Marcus, then at the awakened sphere, then back to Marcus. Her expression was not anger. It was surprise. Cold, calculating surprise. Marcus swallowed. "Your Majesty, I can explain." The Queen stepped forward, her voice calm but strong. "You should not be in this room, human diplomat," she said. "Yet the chamber allowed you to enter, and the artifact reacts to your presence." She studied him carefully. as if seeing something no one else could. "Marcus Hale," she said slowly, "what exactly are you?" And Marcus realized his day had just become far more complicated than a simple diplomatic visit. Queen Saralith's silver eyes stayed fixed on Marcus, sharp and unreadable. The floating sphere behind him glowed brighter and brighter, filling the private chamber with shifting lights. Marcus felt as if every color in the room was watching him. He slowly raised his hands. "Your Majesty, I promise I didn't mean to come here. The hallway collapsed, and I ended up in this room by accident." The Queen did not look angry. She looked curious, deeply curious, like a scientist who just found a new species. "The chamber never opens for intruders," she said quietly. "Not even for my highest advisors. Yet it opened for you." Marcus swallowed. "I didn't force anything. The door opened by itself. And the artifact awakened the moment you stepped near it." Her gaze moved to the sphere again. "This is no coincidence." Marcus felt sweat on his neck. The murals along the walls continued shifting, showing scenes of alien wars and ancient rulers. The crystals floated lazily, but the room seemed to pulse with new energy since he arrived. "I understand this must look strange," Marcus said. "But I'm not special. I'm just a diplomat." The Queen took several slow steps toward him. She was taller than any human Marcus had met, almost elegant in her movement. Her presence filled the room like a quiet storm. "You are many things, Marcus Hale," she said softly. "But ordinary? No. Ordinary humans do not activate a relic older than my empire." Marcus didn't know what to say. He felt small in the massive room, like a child inside a museum full of priceless artifacts. "How old is it?" he finally asked, pointing to the sphere. The Queen touched her long fingers together. "We estimate between 6,000 and 7,000 cycles, older than the Zarathi unification, older than our first starships. We discovered it before my people learned to travel the stars." Marcus blinked. 7,000 years? That's impossible. Humans didn't even leave Earth until a few hundred years ago. The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly. "Yes, that is what your history claims." Marcus stared at her. The room suddenly felt colder. "What are you saying?" Instead of answering, Queen Saralith turned her head toward one of the floating crystals. She raised her hand. The crystal responded, drifting toward her like a trained pet. With a gentle motion, she rotated it, and the crystal brightened. Images began to form inside the floating shard. Marcus gasped. Inside the crystal, shapes appeared, tall structures, massive ships, and beings that looked human. Not exactly human. Their proportions were slightly different, maybe taller, maybe sharper. But their faces, their hands, their posture, they were unmistakably human-like. "These recordings," the Queen said slowly, "were found in ruins on 3 different planets across the galaxy." Marcus felt his heart pounding. "That doesn't make sense. These recordings look thousands of years old." "They are," the Queen replied. "Much older than your current civilization." Marcus stepped closer to the crystal. The images inside shifted, showing a group of ancient humans walking across a stone platform on an alien world. They carried objects that glowed with energy. They placed them carefully on pedestals. "It can't be real," Marcus whispered. Queen Saralith watched his reaction with quiet intensity. The Zarathi believed these beings to be gods, travelers from the beginning. "But now I see. They may have been something else." Marcus turned to her. "Why didn't anyone tell humanity about this?" "Because we did not know they were human." She moved toward the sphere again. "Until now." Marcus felt dizzy. His whole understanding of history, of human progress, seemed to crack at the edges. "So you're saying humans existed out here thousands of years before Earth's history even began?" Marcus said. That is one possibility, the Queen replied. Another is that your kind once reached the stars but fell into ruin, forgotten by time. Civilizations rise and fall, Marcus Hale. She paused, then added, Yours may have simply risen again. Marcus stared at the sphere. The glowing star map inside continued to shift, drawing lines between ancient outposts across the galaxy, all linked to Earth. Marcus hesitated. This is too big. If this is real, Earth needs to know. But the Queen's expression became stern. No, not yet. Marcus looked at her in confusion. Why not? Because not all empires wish for humans to rise in power again, she said. If some discover this truth before your people are ready, they will fear you, and fear leads to destruction. Marcus felt a chill. So this secret could start a war? A war worse than the one we just avoided. She circled him slowly, studying him with a scholar's eye. Your presence here is already a danger. Marcus rubbed his forehead. Then why didn't you call for your guards when you saw me here? Because the sphere reacted to you, not to me, not to any Sirathi, only to you. She paused. That means something we do not yet understand. Marcus glanced at the murals on the walls. They showed scenes of ancient conflicts, alliances, and star systems. But now, as he looked closer, he noticed something strange. In several murals hidden in the background, small figures appeared, shaped like humans. Your murals, Marcus said, pointing. Are these humans too? The Queen turned to look. We once believed them to be mythic spirits, guides from the stars. But if the artifact recognizes you, then these spirits may be your ancestors. Marcus shook his head. That means humans influenced your history. And many others, the Queen added. There are similar symbols in ruins of the Vorth, the Inakari, the Kaharun. Entire civilizations may have been shaped by your ancient predecessors. Marcus felt overwhelmed. But how? How could humans have done all this? That, she said gently, is the question your presence has awakened. Before Marcus could respond, a deep alarm rang through the chamber. The Queen snapped her head toward the door. The lights in the room dimmed for a moment, then pulsed red. Your guards? Marcus asked. No, the Queen said, her voice suddenly sharp. Those are my personal guards. They have detected an unauthorized activation of the chamber. Marcus's eyes widened. That means they're coming here. Yes, she replied. And they will not be pleased to find you in this room. Marcus stepped back. Can you explain to them what happened? That it was an accident? They are loyal, the Queen said, but they follow protocol. Even I cannot stop them from performing their duty. Marcus felt panic rising again. He imagined heavily armored aliens storming in, dragging him out, maybe even executing him on the spot. Is there somewhere I can hide? He asked quickly. No, the Queen replied. Hiding would only make things worse. So what do we do? The Queen looked at the sphere, then back at Marcus. You must stand beside me, she said. If they see you with the activated relic and with me, they may hesitate. Hesitate? Marcus repeated. That's comforting. The Queen gave a faint smile. Calm, distant, but real. You humans are known for your courage. Let us hope today is no different. The door thundered as someone struck it from the outside. Marcus's heart jumped. Your Majesty, if this goes wrong, it will not, she said firmly. Another strike shook the door. Marcus stood beside her, trying not to tremble. The Queen placed her hand gently on the sphere. It brightened again, sending long beams of blue light across the room. The door burst open. 4 Zarathi royal guards stormed in, their armor glowing with defensive energy. Their weapons were aimed directly at Marcus. Human intruder, the captain shouted. Step away from the Queen. Marcus froze. But Queen Saralith lifted her hand. "Lower your weapons," she commanded. The guards hesitated, but did not obey. "Your Majesty," the captain said, "the intruder is in the sacred chamber. He must be detained." "No," she said. "He must be protected." The guards looked confused. The captain frowned. "Why?" Queen Saralith lifted her chin, her voice cold and powerful. "Because he is the key," she said, "to the oldest secret of our galaxy." Marcus felt the weight of her words settle on his shoulders. The guards slowly lowered their weapons, but their eyes stayed on him, and Marcus understood that nothing in his life would ever be normal again. The guards stood rigid, their helmets glowing with defensive light as they pointed their weapons toward Marcus. The chamber's blue light reflected off their armor, making them look like statues carved from living steel. Marcus felt every muscle tense, but Queen Saralith remained calm, too calm for a situation where one wrong move could end everything. "He is the key," the Queen repeated, her voice steady and strong. "No one touches him." The captain of the guard did not lower his weapon. He looked between Marcus, the sphere, and the Queen, clearly trying to understand something far beyond his authority. "Your Majesty," the captain said carefully, "the ancient laws state that no living being may enter the sacred chamber without your invitation. This human—" "The chamber invited him," Queen Saralith interrupted. The guards exchanged uneasy glances. "The chamber," the captain said slowly, "has not invited anyone in over 3,000 cycles." "Exactly," the Queen replied, "which means his presence here is not a crime. It is prophecy." Marcus almost choked. "Prophecy? I don't even know what's happening." The Queen turned slightly toward him. "You will." She stepped beside him, so close that her presence felt like a shield. The glowing sphere between them pulsed brighter, almost as if responding to her decision. Lines of light stretched outward from the sphere, connecting to the floating murals on the walls. The images shifted, becoming clearer. The ancient human-like beings reappeared in the murals. This time, the scenes focused on a figure standing at the center of a great council, a human figure. Queen Saralith spoke softly, but her voice carried through the room like a command from the stars. "Long before the Zirathi learned to shape the void, before our empire rose, before many species formed civilizations, there existed a race known as the Foundations." Marcus stared at her. "Foundations?" "Yes." She nodded. "Travelers of the stars. They guided young species. They built outposts across distant systems. They carried wisdom and technology far beyond anything we understand today." "And you're saying they were—" Marcus hesitated. "Human?" The Queen's silver eyes glowed. "Their DNA patterns match yours. The artifact awakened because you carry their legacy." Marcus felt a chill crawl up his spine. The galaxy suddenly felt heavier, older, stranger. "So ancient humans built all of this?" he asked quietly. "I do not know if they were your direct ancestors or if your species is their revival," the Queen said. "But the connection is real." The guards looked shocked. One lowered his weapon completely. Marcus stared at the swirling star map inside the sphere. Symbols connected Earth to points across the galaxy, ruins, temples, forgotten planets, all tied to the same race. "I don't understand," Marcus whispered. "Why didn't we know any of this? Why did Earth lose this technology? Why did we forget?" Queen Saralith placed her hand on the sphere. The chamber dimmed, and a new image appeared in the air, one unlike the others, a star going dark, a huge explosion, a wave of energy spreading across systems, planets falling silent. Marcus stepped closer. "What happened to them?" The Queen's voice grew somber. "A collapse. Perhaps a disaster, perhaps a war. The Foundations disappeared. Their outposts fell. Their knowledge was lost. If any survived, they hid. and eventually even their memory faded. Marcus stared at the fading image of destruction. It reminded him of stories from Earth, Atlantis, lost civilizations, forgotten kingdoms. But if my people were once that advanced, Marcus said slowly, then Earth is like a child who lost its parents. Or a child who is finally waking up, the Queen replied. He looked at her sharply. You think humans will rise again? I think, she said, that humans are already rising, and some will fear that. Marcus understood. Other empires would see humans not as newcomers, but as the return of an ancient power. A threat. Something to stop before it grew too strong. That's why you're hiding this, he said. You don't want them to know. The Queen nodded once. If the Vorth Dominion or the Inakari Conclave learn of this, they will not wait for answers. They will attack Earth, even if you know nothing of the foundations. Marcus felt the weight of danger settle heavy on his shoulders. So, what happens now? The Queen looked at him with an expression he couldn't read, part respect, part calculation. I offer you a choice, Marcus Hale. She stepped away from the sphere and faced him directly. You may leave this chamber, forget what you saw, return to Earth as a simple diplomat, live a peaceful life. Marcus swallowed. That sounded safe, but also incomplete. Or, she continued, you may accept the legacy awakened by your presence here. You may work with me to uncover the Foundation's history, to revive their technology, and to prepare your species for what may come. Marcus stared at her. Prepare? For what? For the day, she said, when the galaxy demands to know who you truly are. The room fell silent. Marcus felt the world spinning in his mind. He had come to the palace to stop a war. Now he was being asked to help uncover a forgotten galactic empire linked to humanity itself. If he chose the second option, life would never be simple again. He would become part of something ancient, something powerful, something dangerous. But deep inside, he knew his answer. I didn't ask for this, Marcus said slowly. I didn't want to be anyone special, but if humans really were something great once, if we once shaped the galaxy, he looked at the swirling star map again. Then maybe we should know. Maybe we should rise again, not to rule, but to understand. A small smile touched the Queen's lips. Then you accept? Marcus nodded. Yes. The Queen turned to her guards. He is under my personal protection. No harm is to come to him. The guards bowed deeply. Yes, Your Majesty. One of them stepped forward. Shall we seal the chamber, Queen Saralith? For now, she said. Until we know more. She looked at Marcus. Come, human diplomat. We have much to discuss. Marcus followed her out of the chamber. The door closed behind them, sealing the ancient secrets once again. But as they walked through the glowing corridors of the palace, Marcus felt something new inside him, something like fire. He had seen humanity's forgotten past. He had touched the legacy of the Foundations, and now he would help rewrite the future. When they reached the main hall, the Queen paused beside him. Marcus Hale, she said, the galaxy will not understand what you are, not yet, but they will. Marcus took a deep breath. Then I guess we better make sure we're ready. Queen Saralith nodded. Indeed. As they stepped into the vast throne chamber where ambassadors waited, Marcus looked up at the stars beyond the transparent ceiling. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel small. He felt like a spark, one that might ignite something far greater than himself. Something human, something ancient, something unstoppable. Humanity was waking, and the galaxy was about to find out. HFY.